Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of MiM Monday. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga. It's time to make this Monday magical. Thanks so much everyone for joining me. People are already joining in the chat. Guys, if you're joining in the chat, I want to hear from you. We're going to talk about Disney news today, and chime in the chat with your thoughts. Let's make this a conversation. And if you're watching this as a playback on YouTube or on Instagram, then just remember that you can join every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time and be part of the conversation. So yeah, this is MiM Monday. Welcome in. I see a couple of you entering. So guys, this is 4th of July week. Those of you who celebrate, my American friends, biggest letdown in the news. I won't be at Disney for the 4th. Yes, neither will I. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all the ways that those people who are lucky enough to be at Disney World or Disneyland for the 4th will be able to celebrate. But yeah, so to all my American friends out there, happy 4th of July. It's a couple days away, but, we start celebrating. This is 4th of July week. I know just yesterday I enjoyed my first of the 4th of July week celebrations. I had a great celebration at my church with fireworks and an amazing performance by one of my favorite artists, Chris Tomlin, and it was just so much fun. But let's talk about Disney 4th of July and what that entails. Now, before I jump into what's going to happen this year, I kind of want to share something that I think is really cool. I'm a Disney podcaster, obviously, and one of my favorite things to talk about is Disney history. So, I just want to talk really briefly about something that I think is really cool. And it ties into a podcast episode that I think you might be interested in. So, way back in 1974, an attraction opened at Disneyland called America Sings. And this is a vinyl. I had this really cool vinyl of America Sings. And, this attraction, I never got to experience this for myself, obviously. It opened on June 29th, 1974 in Disneyland. It replaced, it's super dope, right? This is so cool. It replaced the Carousel of Progress at Disneyland, because, the Carousel of Progress obviously moved to Walt Disney World. And so this attraction replaced it, and it took over the Carousel Theater. It closed on April 10th, 1988, the year I was born, actually. So, yeah, I never got to experience this. But this is a really important attraction in Disney history, especially if, like me, you're a big fan of Splash Mountain. So this was a celebration of Americana, of music from American history. And it had all these really cool animal animatronics that, when they decided to create Splash Mountain at Disneyland, they moved a ton of these animatronics over to Splash Mountain. So a lot of these, if you rode Splash Mountain in Disneyland, you might recognize some of these figures. Now, they're gone now with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But I figured 4th of July week, I'd show off my America Sings vinyl. And speaking of Disney vinyl, shameless plug time. The latest episode of the Mickey and Minutes podcast is all about Disney vinyl record collecting. I brought a good friend of mine. His name is Jake D from the Sippin' Mimos podcast. You've heard him before on an episode last season where we talked about Disney covers. But Jake D is on this last episode with me talking about Disney vinyl, and I just thought this would be, a cool tie into that. So listen to that. And that episode is actually going to be a two-parter. Part 2 will come out on Friday. Hopefully. I need to edit that. But part 2 of that episode will come out on Friday. So listen to me and Jake talk about our favorite Disney vinyl in our collection. This one is not mentioned, actually, but I just want to talk about it here. But we talk about some other really, really cool vinyl on that episode. But anyways, so that was my shameless plug / Disney history. I'm not going to go any more into detail about America Sings. Maybe I'll do an episode on that at some point. Would you guys be interested in an episode on America Sings and Splash Mountain and all that stuff? Let me know down below if you'd be interested in that. I'll do a whole episode on it. But, you know, this is the Mickey in Minutes news show, so let's talk about news. Let's see, a Fandom Life for Me just joined. What's going on? Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm glad you made it to, this time. So, let's talk about 4th of July at Walt Disney World. I'm actually wearing a 4th of July Disneyland shirt. We'll talk about Disneyland a little bit later, but I really like this shirt. I got this shirt, guys, at the outlet here in right near where I live, and the Disney outlet, and I got this for like $5 or $6. I was so stoked on it. But anyways, so I'm not going to be at Walt Disney World or Disneyland for 4th of July either, but let's talk about what awesome things are happening over there. So, you cannot have 4th of July without fireworks. And of course, there's fireworks over at the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. So, over at the Magic Kingdom on July 3rd and 4th at 9:20 p.m., there is Celebrate America, a 4th of July concert in the sky. That's a cool name. Let's see, a Fandom Life for Me says, I've never been on a holiday, but can only imagine the fireworks on the 4th of July are extra magical. That they are, and extra patriotic. So, Celebrate America, 4th of July concert in the sky. It's at 9:20 on July 3rd and 4th. So, good news, you don't have to be fighting the 4th of July crowds on the actual 4th of July to enjoy this offering. You can see it on July 3rd as well. I'm looking at Disney Parks blog, and they have a very silly pun in here. It says, after the fireworks, your family can independ dance at DJ dance parties. Independ dance. So funny. But anyway, so there's going to be DJ dance parties in Frontierland, at Cinderella Castle, and in Tomorrowland. Hey, thanks so much for joining. So, let's pause right here and talk about this for a second, because, you know, it's what we do on MiM Monday. We discuss the news. What do you guys think of these dance parties around the parks? And I'm not talking about, you know, in Tomorrowland on the Tomorrowland stage, you know, that kind of thing. I'm talking about when there's a DJ set up in Frontierland. Like, it breaks the immersion completely, and I don't like that. Do you guys like that? I mean, I know that it's like a special event, like it's for 4th of July, so it's not an everyday thing, so, you know. But, you know, I also understand that it's a party. But, you know, I don't like the idea of going into Frontierland and hearing contemporary music blaring, you know, while people are you know, dancing. I feel like reserve that for I don't know, the Tomorrowland stage, right? And I mean, it doesn't fit there either, though, so it's hard for me to argue that. I don't think it belongs anywhere. I will pretty much dance anywhere at Disney without an actual dance party. Yeah, right. We don't need DJs and contemporary music to dance at Disney. You know, I can walk around and dance to the area loop of any land. I think dance parties are becoming more and more. Yeah, they are a lot more. Yo, daddy, yo, what's going on, dude? I'm so happy you joined today. How you doing, man? So, we're talking about dance parties at Disney. And, you know, they do this for New Year's, and they do this for 4th of July, and I just think it's weird. I mentioned on the last MiM Monday that if you go to the Edison at Disney Springs, after a certain time on certain nights, it becomes a nightclub. And I feel like the whole aesthetic of the environment goes away. And I feel the same way in Frontierland, hearing, you know, just contemporary music. I'll stop harping on that. Let's talk about Epcot. So Epcot does a big fireworks thing also. Not as big as what they do at the Magic Kingdom, because what they do at Epcot is a tag. So they're gonna do Luminous, the Symphony of Us. They're gonna play, you know, that normally through. And then after that, there's the 4th of July tag called the Heartbeat of Freedom. The Heartbeat of Freedom. Hold on, I'm going to go to the chat really quick. Dance parties meant for families with small kids to get the energy out. Yeah, typically they are. Like around the parks, excuse me, when you have like the dance party with Stitch and that kind of stuff. And, those are, somewhat acceptable to a certain extent. But I feel like they need to be in certain pockets of the park. I know, like, I'm pretty sure the DJ in Frontierland was set up, like, on that bridge above the buildings, or connecting two of the buildings up top, and the whole land kind of becomes a dance party. And I feel like that ends up being more for, like, everybody than for the kids. Whoops. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for joining. But yeah, I know a lot of adults don't mind that, and I know a lot of people who are there just to celebrate the event, the party, 4th of July in this case. They're not probably the kind of people who are going to be so wrapped up in immersion, as us, crazy Disney people are. If I stumble on one, don't tell me with a good time. Yeah, exactly. At Epcot, I've seen videos during New Year's. They'll do those silent dance parties where people will all get headphones, and everyone will just be dancing with headphones, but the music won't be blaring. Those look really awkward when you're watching, but that's a pretty cool idea, so that people can have that dance party experience, but not break the immersion of the lands. But I also feel like Epcot is kind of a different ball game than the Magic Kingdom. If I were to say that these kind of parties belong anywhere, I'd say maybe Epcot over any other park. Maybe Hollywood Studios in certain parts. Silent dance parties on the Disney cruise was fun. Oh, I've never done a silent dance party. So is there only one station, Daddy-O? Or like, can you choose like different stations like to listen to? Or does everyone always hear the same thing? Because I've noticed that when I watch them, they have different colors lighting up on the headphones. Does that mean they're listening to different music? I have no idea. But it's multiple stations. Oh, okay, cool. Do you picked like the genre of music, I guess, or like, I don't know. That's really cool. I'll have to experience it. Like four different stations. Okay, cool. Good to know, man. I've never done that before. But yeah, like what was said before, don't tempt me with a good time, right? I'll have fun. If you're in Walt Disney World, I'll have fun. It's just, I'm so into immersion and theme. Could definitely see them at Epcot or Hollywood Studios. Magic Kingdom is different value. Yeah, Magic Kingdom is way more immersive in certain areas than Epcot is. But would you want a dance party with contemporary music blaring at Galaxy's Edge? A land that's very, very immersive. It doesn't work, right? And I feel like Frontierland is the same kind of thing. But back to Epcot, 4th of July. So 4th of July, Heartbeat of Freedom, that tag, that's going to happen on the 4th only. So hey, what's going on? WDW Jedi, what's going on? So here's the thing that a lot of people are going to do. And, just saying. You go to Magic Kingdom on the 3rd and see the fireworks. And then you go to Epcot on the 4th and see the fireworks. And you get both celebrations. Because Epcot is only on the 4th. Magic Kingdom is on the 3rd and the 4th. So, yeah, really cool stuff going on. And, of course, lots of snacks for 4th of July. Lots of 4th of July snacks. I'm just looking at Disney Parks blog, and all I see is blue food coloring. Like, that's gonna get all over your tongue and your lips, and But a red, white, and blue waffle. You can't go wrong with a Mickey waffle, right? Funnel cake. I haven't had funnel cake in a really long time. But I who doesn't love a good funnel cake, right? Those just feel like 4th of July snacks. But not just fireworks. If you are somebody who's patriotic and who wants to celebrate our country year round, there's other things at Walt Disney World that would interest you. And one of those is actually one of our news stories. So getting into the news, the Hall of Presidents reopened with President Trump. And they gave him a speaking role again, as they always do. The sitting president is always in the center of the stage, and he always does some sort of speaking role. Typically, it's part of their like the oath, right, or the swearing in speech or something like that. But they actually record these things specifically for Disney. So people from Disney will go, I don't know where they go, but they meet up actually with the president and have them record these lines, which I think is really cool. And the other thing that's interesting about this is they updated the animatronic of President Trump, his face. So if you remember way back when President Trump won his first term and they opened the Hall of Presidents, he looked all weird, right? He looked different. And the speculation is that a lot of people thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and so they designed like a Hillary Clinton face. And then when Trump won, they just kind of made it work. So I don't know how true that is, but looking at that original face, it does kind of look like that. But you know, they changed it now. It looks a lot better. It looks way more like him now. So that's really cool. And that's open now, just in time for 4th of July. Just in time to enjoy that. Other things you can do, not news, but, you know, if you're spending 4th of July weekend at Walt Disney World, go to the American Adventure and hang out in the that main lobby area and watch the Voices of Liberty. So they have a special performance for the 4th of July. I guess it is news, called Echoing the Sound of America. And I haven't seen this in person, but their voices are amazing, right? Something you may not know about me is I love a cappella. I feel like a really great group of singers can carry anything, right? And, you know, that's coming from a musician. I play music. And so, you know, I'm not discrediting musicians and the importance of music behind anything by any means. But a great a cappella group shines. I've seen Pentatonics in concert. They came to my city, and I saw them it was an arena. It was humongous. And it was so weird going to a concert and seeing nothing, like no instruments on the stage. And so these dudes, they just come out. Well, I think there's a female in the group as well. I don't remember what the lineup was at the time that I saw them, but they blew me away. It was incredible. So yes, Voices of Liberty, the absolute best. Yep, love Pentatonics. Yes, me too. They were incredible. If you ever get a chance to see Pentatonics live, take it. Please take it. They're incredible. It was such a cool show. Another thing that you can enjoy at Epcot is the Portraits of Courage. Now, these aren't a 4th of July offering. These have been there for a while. But what these are is former President George W. Bush painted these pictures, images of America's warriors, so soldiers. And he actually painted these, and they're really, you know, it's really interesting and really interesting thing to look at if you're into, you know, patriotism and art and America and that kind of stuff. So, love Pentatonics, NSYNC Melody, yeah, and the Christmas album, yes, Pentatonics Christmas album. And so the last thing, and this one makes me think of just being a kid, is the electrical water pageant. Again, not something new for 4th of July, but they always have this like grand finale at the end with the American flag. And if you don't know what this is, if you stay on like Bay Lake, the Contemporary or the Polynesian, you could see this water pageant go by, and it has all these lights and music, and it's so if you're into, some people aren't into patriotism. Make myself laugh too. I am, clearly. But the electrical water pageant, fantastic. So anyways, yes. if you're into patriotism, if you want to celebrate America at Walt Disney World, those are some things you could do. Electrical water pageant, yes, brought back nostalgia memories too. Yes, I know, super nostalgic. Right? I just remember being a kid. I used to stay at Fort Wilderness a lot. I don't know if you guys know this. I grew up in Florida, and I was an annual pass holder for a very long time. And we would spend a lot of time going to Fort Wilderness. We had a camper motorhome, and we would go there. We'd stay there for extended periods of time, and one of the things I remember doing often is watching the electrical water pageant go by. And yeah, it makes me feel like a kid. So, anyways, those are some things for 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to those of you who celebrate. America Sings. This is very cool. Just wanted to show this one more time. But let's talk about some other Disney news. Let's talk about after hours events. So, an after-hours event is something that they do at Disney World. It's a hard ticket event where, so awesome. See you walking out of magic. Yeah, you can see the electrical water pageant on Bay Lake. It's beautiful. After hours. So after hours, the next thing I want to talk about is a hard ticket event where you get to experience the parks with much lower capacity, right? Or people, a lot less people. And it's a hard ticket event. That means you have to pay it separately. But they're offering some at Hollywood Studios and at Epcot. So what's interesting about these is not everything is open for these. It's kind of like going to an after hours party. If you ever been to like Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party or Jollywood Nights or very Not So Scary Halloween Party. So these are like after hours. It's an extra ticket. You go in separately from the rest of the park, and actually the day guests all leave, and so you have the park to yourself basically. But these after hours events are like those parties, but not with like a holiday theme or anything like that. So hey, what's going on? Thanks for joining. So let's talk about these. At Hollywood Studios, we have July 2nd, July 9th, July 16th, July 23rd, July 30th, August 6th, August 20th, August 27th, and September 3rd. And so on these days, you could stay at the park until 12:30 a.m., which I don't know. I remember back in the day when the parks were open that late anyways. But I digress. And you get free snacks. Yeah, you get free snacks. And so not everything's open. So at Hollywood Studios, during these after-hours events, you're going to get Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, Slinky Dog Dash, Toy Story, Mania, Aliens Rolling Saucers, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So, that's not all of them, but most of them. I wonder why Star Tours isn't there. And then you had some surprise character encounters, and some restaurants will be open and stuff like that. I'll be at Hollywood Studios after hours on the 16th. Super excited. Oh, nice. Let me know how that is. I'm very curious how a standard after hours event is. I've only been to Very Merry and Jollywood Nights and that kind of stuff. I haven't been to one of these after hours events. So, have you been to one before, or will that be your first time? Yeah, and so Epcot's gonna have these also. Epcot is open a little bit later. This is open till 1 a.m. on select days. The days for Epcot are June 26th, July 10th, 24th, 31st, August 7th, 14th, 28th, September 11th, and September 25th. And so the attractions open at Epcot after hours are going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Frozen Ever After, Soarin' Around the World, Grand Fiesta Tour, Living with the Land, Mission Space, Seas with Nemo and Friends, and Spaceship Earth. I will put a caveat on that Spaceship Earth. Probably not all the time because Spaceship Earth is closing for a little bit in August. So Spaceship Earth probably not included in the August and September dates. Only been to Very Merry before. Yeah, cool. Well, let me know how the After Hours is. So yeah, I will say that Spaceship Earth being closed for a little bit. They haven't. I don't know how long Spaceship Earth will be closed for. It could be short. I know it's not going to be that big refurbishment that we were promised with all the other Epcot stuff, but it's kind of a bummer because it looks like it might be closed for my September trip. And I go to Disney all the time, so it stinks for me because I love that attraction a lot. But it's also like, I'll do it again. But my brother has been planning this trip with his family. It'll be my brother's first time going in like 15 or 16 years, something like that. And he was really looking forward specifically to Spaceship Earth, so he's just devastated. But things happen. Things close. Let's see. Yeah, After Hours event. After Hours events would be really cool. Taking a look at the chat. So also at the Epcot After Hours event, we got Goofy's DJ Dance Party. Now, we were talking about dance parties earlier. I think this is more like the kid-centered dance party rather than the ones that happen for like New Year's or 4th of July. So, and that's a little different. Then you're going to have a couple of extra things open and snacks. We were talking about free snacks included in your ticket. So at Hollywood Studios and Epcot, you get ice cream, so like Mickey ice cream bars, popcorn, and bottled drinks at various locations. That's one thing I really like about like the Christmas party and like Halloween party where you get free stuff also, but specifically the Christmas party, I love getting the eggnog and the cookies. And fun fact, the first time I ever tried eggnog was at a Magic Kingdom Very Merry Christmas party. So that's every time I drink Epcot. Every time I drink eggnog, my wife knows that I'm gonna say the first time I ever had this was at Disney World because that's just a fun thing for me. But anyways, After Hours events. Anybody else going to an After Hours event? Let me know. Put it down in the chat if you're planning on going to an After Hours event at either of these parks. Let me know. That's pretty interesting. I want to know how that goes. It seems fun. The best part about it is low wait times. Low wait times. When I went to Jollywood Nights, guys, we basically walked on to Rise of the Resistance. It was crazy. They even did the whole single rider thing where you kind of bypass like the pre-shows and stuff. It was crazy. We waited maybe 10 minutes. It was crazy. But anyways, so another thing happening. Speaking of Epcot, we have previews have already started for Test Track. But what I find interesting about I'm going to remain spoiler free. So that means I'm not going to watch any of the Test Track videos. I'm going to avoid that as much as I can. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Slinky Dog 10 times in a row. That'd be fun. You might even be able to do that with the low crowds. So, how you want to spend that time is entirely up to you, and I think that sounds really fun. Let me know if you do that. Let me know if you accomplish 10 times in a row. That sounds crazy. But this is the news right over here for Test Track, is that when Test Track opens, they're going to kind of change the Lightning Lane tiers at Epcot. And so beginning on July 22nd, Test Track is going to become a Tier 1 attraction, bumping Soarin' down to a Tier 2 attraction. So basically what this means is when you're booking your Lightning Lanes, you can book 3, right? Your initial 3 right away. And that means 1 Tier 1 attraction and then 2 from Tier 2, or all 3 from Tier 2. And they do that so that all the Tier 1s aren't all taken up right away. So right now, the Tier 1 attractions are Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and Soarin' Around the World. But the last day Soarin' will be a Tier 1, will be July 21st, July 22nd. Test Track is taking that over. And then the Tier 2 attractions at Epcot will remain the same, but also including Soarin'. And there'll be Disney Pixar Short Film Festival, which, I'm sorry, if you're using a lightning lane on that, don't. It's a waste of a lightning lane. Journey into Imagination with Figment, Living with the Land, Mission Space, Seas with Nemo and Friends, Soaring Around the World, Spaceship Earth, and Turtle Talk with Crush. Again, while Spaceship Earth is open, it's going down for a little bit. Love that they're bumping Soarin'. I love that ride, but it's definitely not Tier 1 priority. I agree, I agree. I love Soarin' too. I always think that Soarin' at Epcot should be Soaring Around the World, but Soarin' at California needs to be Soarin' over California all the time. Who's with me? Right? Just makes sense. But anyways, so changes in lightning lanes over at Epcot. Now, a couple other things happening at Walt Disney World I want to talk about really quick. The Prairie Outpost over in Frontierland is now a Chapel hat shop. So, you want to buy a cowboy hat or a fedora, and you're in Magic Kingdom, now you can. You used to be able to buy coonskin hats and be like Davy Crockett. Now you could get these fancy chapel hats. So, it's one of those things where the question is it breaking the immersion like we talked about earlier with the dance party? You can buy sunglasses over in Adventureland, right? There's Starbucks obviously on Main Street. So there's stuff like this everywhere. I feel like, as long as they're selling hats that are somewhat in theme, so like cowboy hats and stuff, I think it's fine. I think it works. Don't love the hat shop. Yeah, I don't love it either. They have one at Disney Springs, I believe. I know that Disney has a deal with chapel hats, and so I just think it's weird in Frontierland, but what are you gonna do? Maybe because we have it everywhere in Texas. Yeah, that's true. So that's a news item. It is what it is. Another one from Magic Kingdom, Astro Orbiter reopened. Excuse me. It's been closed since January 13th, and it finally opened again June 27th. What's weird about this is they completely took it apart. That's bizarre to me, right? I mean, it makes you wonder when they're doing refurbs to other attractions, the indoor attractions, how much of that is actually taken apart, right? I don't know. But the fact that this is the centerpiece of Tomorrowland and you could actually see it taken apart and then put back together, it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. But yeah, Astro Orbiter is reopened. It's not like an e-ticket attraction by any means, but it's pretty much a must-do for me. My wife and I have some pretty hilarious and fun stories related to Astro Orbiter. For some reason, every time we ride Astro Orbiter, a story comes out after it. So it's an important attraction to us. I really enjoy it. I'm glad that that's there. But, one thing opens, another thing closes. Buzz Lightyear got its closing date. That's going to close on August 4th to make way for that pretty cool refurb. They're if you don't know this, they're adding laser blasters that you could actually lift up out of the ride vehicle, right? Us Florida people were burdened with our Buzz Lightyear blasters being stuck to the vehicle. Not just tethered, but actually stuck. You can only twist them, right? But we have the spinner. So, sorry, I'm reading the comments. I think it's so crazy how they do all this overnight when the park's closed. Refurbs, yep. Flowers being rebedded. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I love watching the documentaries and stuff where they show the turnover from Halloween to Christmas at the Magic Kingdom and how that basically happens overnight for Main Street and stuff. It's incredible. Disney is so incredible with just the way they do all this stuff. But the ride vehicle, yes, Fandom Life for Me ride vehicle getting an update at Buzz Lightyear. So the new blasters are going to be removable like Disneyland, and the laser is going to be on the whole time, so you're going to be able to see your little dot. And not only that, but you and the person in the ride vehicle next to you are going to have different colored dots, so you could actually see where you're aiming now. Isn't that awesome? So that's going to be really cool. They're also adding a new original character to the attraction. That very first turn in Buzz Lightyear, that's now going to have a character. I don't have it pulled up right now. I wasn't really going to talk about this too much, but this new original character, he's going to help you like learn to use your lasers and that kind of stuff. And I've said this before, original characters in the parks, yes, so much yes. Anytime you can give me an original character for an attraction, I'm there for it. So a new original character coming to Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger Spin, new blasters, the works. I'm really happy about it. I will say, I've been one of those people saying that, Buzz Lightyear's outdated. We have Toy Story Land, that's changed Buzz Lightyear. And, my wife and I talk about, we're a bunch of Disney nerds. So our standard conversation are talking about refurbs and stuff like that. But we had this really cool idea, that what if they changed Buzz Lightyear into a Big Hero 6 themed, and they call it Heroes Training Academy. And then you have little blasters, and you have animatronics of Baymax, and they're teaching you to shoot, whatever, the little microbots or something. Like, I don't know. But to have a Big Hero 6, actual, superhero themed attraction would be so cool. Complete fantasy, right? We just made this up. There isn't enough love for Big Hero 6, I feel like. In California, we have San Francisco, you have a Hero and Baymax meet and greet, and that's all really cool. It's, Tokyo, where they have the Happy Ride with Baymax, which is basically Mater's Junkyard Jamboree or Aliens Rolling Saucers, but with Baymax. So we always thought that would be really cool. But it doesn't look like we're getting that. Yes, Big Hero 6 is extremely underrated. We just watched that a few days ago. So what we're doing, we have Disneyland coming up in just a couple weeks. So, and I'm on summer break as a teacher. So almost every night, we're watching another Disney movie that's directly associated with Disneyland and California Adventure to get us psyched, So my pick the other day was Big Hero 6, and that movie holds up. I love that movie. Not to mention, I grew up a big Fall Out Boy fan when I was in high school. So to hear Fall Out Boy in the movie was always really cool to me. I'm excited to see Baymax fly, by the castle at Disneyland. I've seen video of that, and yes. So more Big Hero 6 in the parks. Let's get that. But anyways, I am happy to see that Buzz Lightyear is getting a full refurb treatment. I'm really happy about that. I know they're also getting the new targets. They're getting new targets. So hey, welcome in. Yeah, I love that y'all do that. Yeah, we love movie nights. So we hang out with our pup, and we watch movies, and it's been a really nice thing to do during the summer. Because, gosh, during the school year, I go to bed early because I wake up super early, and it's nice to have time to sit and watch movies. The nighttime shows for the Disneyland 70th brings me to tears every time I watch it. Yeah, I'm so excited. Guys, I'm so close. I'm so close to this trip. So, yeah, anyways, so let's talk about Disneyland. Since I'm going to Disneyland really, really soon, let's talk about Disneyland. This is a story that I find very, very interesting that they're doing over at Disneyland. Suspense. Let me drink some water. So, they're doing, for Disney Plus, POV ride-throughs and land walkthroughs. So basically, they're doing what the vloggers do, If you watch YouTube, which I'm sure you guys do since you're here, you're probably just as nerdy as me, but I spend at least half of my TV time watching YouTube, watching Disney YouTube, maybe more probably, honestly. And I love to watch POVs, POVs of attractions and rides. Now, like I said earlier, I don't spoil new things, so I'm not going to watch Test Track, but it makes me happy to sit here and watch these attractions. And now Disney official is doing that. And it's weird to me. So they started with the Galaxy's Edge one that they did for May the 4th. Yeah, I have POV ride-throughs on the background all the time. Yeah, same here. Whenever I'm editing my podcasts, I have one screen with my edits going, and then my other screen is just POVs of the parks. You know, like 4K WDW to plug a great channel. Watch this all the time. Disney YouTube content, a ton of it. Yes, exactly. So you guys get me. But so Disney is now doing this themselves, which I guess makes sense. I mean, it's their stuff. It's their lands. It's their properties. You know, they have their big Disney cameras, you know, and so they did this first for May the 4th, where they filmed Rise of the Resistance and they filmed a walkthrough of Galaxy's Edge. And we talked about this on MiM Monday, our May the 4th episode, which was actually on May 5th. But we talked about this and how it was pretty interesting, but also how showcasing Galaxy's Edge without any people in it kind of shows how dead the land is compared to stuff that we see in, I hate to say this, Epic Universe, where you have all this, you know, especially the Isle of Berk, where you have all these characters walking around and dragon animatronics, and I felt like that the way that they filmed Galaxy's Edge kind of made it look a little lifeless, you know? But obviously they have amazing equipment, so it looked beautiful. But, you know, that's not to say that the average person, you know, filming at Disney World, well, not the average person, but these people who do this for YouTube, a lot of them have really great cameras. Like, yeah, 4K WDW, that channel, I don't know anything about the channel or who films that, but I watch it because it's really high quality videos. But Disney is now doing more of these. So listen to this list. This is interesting. So they're going to put out official POV videos of Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones Adventure, Radiator Springs Racers, Incredicoaster, Haunted Mansion, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Walkabout of Cars Land, the Pixar Pal Around. That one's interesting because it's really just filming the park. So that's weird. And I was just thinking, for the Pixar Pal Around, is it going to be the swinging one? Because I can just imagine these like professional like videographers sitting in there and just like rocking back and forth and trying not to scream. How are they going to do that? That's crazy. I don't know. They're also going to do Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Jungle Cruise, Soaring Around the World. Another weird one. Soaring Around the World is that's a weird one. I don't know. I mean, they have the Disney obviously owns the film for Soarin'. Why don't they just put that? Like, instead of filming it? I don't know. That's weird. Avengers Campus Walkabout, a Hollywoodland Walkabout. Hollywoodland is weird because there isn't really much there. Main Street USA, Mickey's Toontown, and then it says Nighttime Spectaculars. So we'll see which ones those are. Probably just Fireworks, probably, and World of Color. It'll probably be mostly the film they already have. Yeah. So these are interesting. You know, I know that some people are saying like, oh, you know, some vloggers, whatever, are saying, oh, that's what I do. They're taking, you know, away what we do. But I don't think they are, you know, and I think it's a little different because a lot of, you know, the vloggers that we like to watch, you know, unless they're like just strictly POV, we watch them for their personalities, right? And because they're fun to watch. You know, I know, you know, the channels that I watch, like especially like I watch Fresh Baked all the time. I love that dude. I think he's fantastic. So we don't necessarily just watch for the POV. We watch for the people. But as far as POVs, yes, there's a lot of channels who do just POVs. But to have Disney professionally shoot it in the way that they want it to be seen, you know, that's different, and I think that's kind of cool. You know, I think that's one thing where you think about the way that dark rides kind of came about, and you think of Bob Gurr inventing, like, you know, the Doom Buggy, essentially, right? The Omnimover attraction. And they were thinking about how we're going to turn the ride vehicle to show the guests exactly what we want them to see, right? And that was the whole point of the dune buggy. That's why, you're kind of covered in the back and the sides, so your attention is focused directly on what Disney wants you to see. And I feel like Disney filming a POV like this is kind of the same thing, where not only are they professionally preserving these attractions for the 70th and for the future, but they're filming it in the exact way that they want to shoot it, right? And so they design these attractions, and they're going to take not only really good videos, but they're going to take their own direction and cinematography to film them in the way that they think is best. And I'm really curious to see how they're going to film some of these. And, before the internet, before they had stuff like this, I remember being always so excited when when my family was going to go to Disney World and we'd get the VHS tapes. I'm dating myself. But the VHS tapes in the mail that were the vacation planning videos. Does anybody remember this? So we get these tapes, and I used to love watching them because you could see the attractions, and those were obviously shot by Disney, and they were really cool. And so I kind of look at it like we don't get those vacation planning videos anymore. And this is kind of their way of presenting the attractions to us, kind of like that. So, anyways, it is what it is. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. Guys, this has been so much fun. I'm really enjoying all the engagement in the chat, and I'm just really, I love MiM Mondays. I love hanging out with you guys so much. You guys really make Mickey and Minutes a community, and that's how I want it to be. Mickey and Minutes, we're a family. We're a Disney community, and I love that you guys continue to support the show and continue to hang out. So let's build up this community. Let's get some more friends to come next week and hang out, and let's keep building this up, because I'm really loving this, and it's the farthest thing from like a selfish thing. It's not about me. It's not about Mickey Minutes and growing my channel. I get to talk to you guys, and you guys are fun, and I like talking about Disney news with you guys. So thanks so much for the support. There's a couple other small stories, but we can talk about them next week. So, but yeah, I think this was awesome. I love talking about Disneyland with you guys, talking about 4th of July. Please check out the latest episode of the Mickey and Minutes podcast, where we talk about Disney vinyl. Sorry, I was reading the chat and I get lost in my brain. We talk about Disney vinyl collecting on the latest episode of the Mickey Minutes podcast. Me and my good friend Jake from the Sippin' Mimos podcast. And so check that out. It's very interesting. If you're interested in vinyl collecting, specifically Disney vinyl, or just want to hear some interesting Disney conversation, check that out. It's out on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you listen to the Disney podcast. Sometimes, honestly, I'll go to like random podcast platforms and I'll find Mickey and Minutes, and I'll be like, I had no idea we were on that. That's crazy. But yeah, and then the episode coming out this Friday is part 2 of the Disney vinyl conversation. It was a really long conversation, and it's really interesting, so I chopped it up into 2 parts. So that's coming out Friday. And of course, MiM Monday, every Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time, making Mondays magical. It's you guys joining me that makes it so magical. So thanks so much, and happy 4th of July, everybody. Let's celebrate America this week and the wonderful freedom that we have in our country. So happy 4th of July to all my American friends who celebrate. And yeah, this has been awesome. I see people joining right now. We're about to sign off, but watch this whole episode. It'll be on a playback in just maybe about 20 minutes on Instagram Reels, and it'll be on YouTube as well. Tomorrow it'll be on YouTube. So thanks so much for supporting. Thanks so much for hanging out. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, everybody. Welcome.